Hello everybody and welcome back to the conversation. We have finally gotten to season 2 of Young Royals, and I thought it'd be a rather fitting way to do it if I filmed that first episode, heck, maybe the first 3 episodes, right here in Scandinavia. This is the first time I've ever made a video inside the Arctic Circle, and yet that is exactly where I am. I think it's fitting. So having said that, let me begin by saying one of the things I love about Young Royals Season 1 is the fact that the writing was superb. The acting was superb. Everything about it was correctly done. And I almost sound like I'm just some kind of fanboy that I'm just on board with anything they do and anything they do is going to be super. Well, the truth is, I praise them because I think they really deserve the praise. When they don't deserve the praise, I'm going to say that too. Having said that, Season 2, Episode 1, not my favorite. Now, I'm not going to spend the next few minutes just bashing episode 1. I don't hate it. It's just not my favorite. I think they made some mistakes, and I'm going to point out those mistakes. But one of the things I loved about season 1 was the fact that the writing kind of always kept me guessing a little bit. I didn't always know where the story was going to go, and often they did not follow the typical storylines. I liked that. Unfortunately, I think in season 2, particularly episode 1, there were some things that were very predictable, very contrived, and almost seemed forced. I didn't like those things. Now, before I get into what I didn't like, let me go ahead and spend a minute telling you what I did like. In the opening scene, we get Wilhelm going into his brother's room and mourning. He's mourning his brother's loss. And what I really liked about this scene is that it told us everything we need to know about season 2. Because he goes into the room and he's very nostalgic and he's looking at his brother's things, touching his brother's things. And his mother comes to the door and says, "Wilhelm, we need to talk." And he gently closes the door on her. That was telling, because I think that's exactly what season 2 is going to be about. It's going to be about putting his mother behind him and learning to stand on his own 2 feet. It's about leaving tradition behind, closing the door on tradition and moving forward. But in the same respect, you see Wilhelm ponder his brother's military coat and eventually puts it on and wraps himself in it. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think he's going to take on his brother's mantle as the crown prince, and he's finally going to embrace it. I think that's a bold prediction because we haven't seen season 3 yet, but I think that's what's going on here. And now the scene or the stage is set. And I also think we're given a little something about August, because just as Wilhelm is, let's say, taking on the mantle of crown prince eventually, we see August as he should be, isolated at school. And that's because that's what he's done to himself. I happen to think that that's the consequence of his mistakes, but it's the consequence of his personality as well. And I think that's what we're going to see play out. I almost hate to say it, but based on some things that happened in this particular episode, I'm probably going to have to modify my position on August a little bit. Because when Sarah met him in the forest to talk to him, he really almost convinced me that he really was sorry for what he did to Seaman and to Wilhelm. And I can understand that when we're teenagers, we make impetuous decisions. We don't think them through. We think we know what we're doing, but then when the consequences hit us, it all falls apart. And I kind of began to wonder if that's what happened with August, because partly he seemed genuinely upset. Now, I'm not sure if he's upset because of the pain that he caused Wilhelm and the family, or if he's hurt because he kind of lost his position in the family. He lost his social standing. Or maybe it's a mixture of both. But what I loved is the fact that Sarah was able to calm him down, and it seemed like she really reached him. And I'll talk about this in another episode in a little more detail, but it seemed like he really was listening to her. And it got me thinking too. After she talked to him, got to calm him down, had her hand on his chest, she went into the bathroom and, took care of her needs. And in that moment, I really sympathized with her because this goes toward really good filmmaking where we were able to see a very intimate scene with Sarah and it wasn't trashy. Because what I got out of that scene when she was, let's say relieving herself, I couldn't help but think of, Sarah, do you know who it is you're falling for? Do you know what a scumbag this guy is? From my perspective. But in the same respect, we don't get to choose who we fall in love with. Sarah is no different than the rest of us. I don't think she means to fall for August, but it's happening. One of the things I appreciate in this particular episode is that we get to experience Wilhelm's political awakening. Now, I kind of hinted toward this at the end of season 1, but we have this scene where Wilhelm is telling Felice that he's going to get back at August by destroying what is most important to August. He clearly and correctly identifies those things as the prestige of being the prefect and the prestige of being the captain of the rowing team. So Wilhelm has identified his targets. Now he's going to go after them. And he does this, in my opinion, 2 really clever ways. This was clever writing. I love the fact that at the party at the beginning of the year, Wilhelm gets his guys together and takes them down to the party at the palace. Now that's the palace at Hillerska. And he confronts the guy, Vincent, at the front door and says, yeah, we're going to come in because, why not? And Vincent says, well, this is tradition. You can't do this. And remember what I said, Wilhelm closing the door on his mother. This is when Wilhelm begins to exert his identity that he's going to close the door on tradition. So he challenges him, says, I don't see why we shouldn't be allowed to come in. August comes outside, says, oh, Wilhelm, blah, 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 blah. Wilhelm says, no, you can address me as Crown Prince. That set the tone very clearly and put August on notice for exactly what time it is. Of course, Wilhelm bullies August and worms his way into the party. Yeah, he just set the stage for undermining August. The second clever scene that is associated with this undermining of August is in the dining hall when Wilhelm decides that the underclassmen should be allowed to eat first. Why not? Vincent challenges this, saying, well, wait a minute. No. Tradition. These are the privileges of the upperclassmen. And Wilhelm says, well, why? Why don't we just take a vote on it and see if we want to change that tradition? Vincent says, well, this is not a democracy. Oh, Vincent, you just let the cat out of the bag. You just said the quiet part out loud. Well, sure enough, Wilhelm challenges August on this. August backs down, and the underclassmen win. August's authority is further undermined. Something else I really like in this episode, I love the fact that Seaman stood up to Wilhelm and expressed his true feelings. He told Wilhelm that basically, you lied about me on national television when you denied that it was you in the video. And I feel like you betrayed me and you hurt me, and I don't know if I can trust you. And for that reason, we kind of need to stay away from each other for a while. That was a brave thing for Seaman to do, and I'm proud of him for doing it. Now, to pull the ladies into the conversation, I did find it interesting that the female initiation, when the upper class girls so warmly welcomed Sarah into their group, their initiation was much, much milder than that of the young men. Boy, I guess that says a lot. Okay, I said at the beginning of this video that there were things I didn't like about season 2, episode 1. I'm going to go through those now, and I'm going to start with the things that irritated me the least and move toward the things that irritated me the most. The first thing I have to start with is Wilhelm getting bigger than his britches. Reason being, do you remember in season 1, episode 1, Wilhelm made such a big deal about carrying his own bags. He wanted to show that he was his own man and was not so snooty that he couldn't carry his own stuff. In this episode, we see that Malin is carrying most of his bags when he first arrives at the school. And they get inside the school, they get into the hallway, and he says to her very dismissively, oh, just take my bags to my room, I'll be there later. Wilhelm, message. This woman does not make your breakfast, she does not fold your bed, she does not iron your clothes, and she does not carry your baggage. Carry your own bags to your own room and get over yourself. In the past, I have praised Young Royals for the cinematography and for the directing. It's always been clever. But in this episode, I really have to object to something. When Wilhelm and Seaman meet each other for the first time in the palace on school grounds, that is really bad directing. They're standing in this very busy room, a lot of noise, a lot of stuff going on, and suddenly the noise falls away. moody music begins. They look at each other from across the room with lights behind their heads like it's some kind of aura. And they look like they should just run into each other's arms in front of everyone. And this was ridiculous. I did not like this. This was not good directing. One other thing I want to say about this particular scene, because it really, really, really irritates me. Last year I said that Seaman and Sarah always sit in the same seats in this classroom, and everyone around them seems to move around a bit. And yet in this particular episode, Sarah is nowhere to be seen, and with no explanation, Wilhelm is sitting next to Seaman. No explanation. And then Wilhelm, in my opinion, very cheesily, if that's a word, says, "Hey, I forgot my pencil. Can I borrow a pencil?" What do you mean you forgot your pencil? Dude, you're rich. Go buy a box of pencils. And beyond that, you're intelligent. I'm sure you can remember to bring your pencil. So this is just, in my opinion, more poor writing. It's cheesy. And then after Seaman says, "Yeah, of course you can borrow a pencil," they both reach for the pencil case and they both touch it at the same time, and the camera focuses on their hands touching. Stop it. Stop it. This is cheesy. It's so forced. It's so orchestrated. Nothing about it seemed natural or felt natural. Didn't feel genuine. So I'm going to hide behind this boulder for a moment because the wind is getting absolutely brutal. And I'm going to talk about the third thing that annoyed me. It annoyed me more than the other two things. I love clever writing. I say this all the time. I probably say it repetitively. In this episode, the writing was not good, because here we find out that the Crown Prince is going to give his first speech as Crown Prince at the 120-year Jubilee. It's a Jubilee that's being held to celebrate 120 years of tradition at the school. Why 120 years is significant, I don't know. I can understand 100 years or 150 or 200, but 120 seems like a weird number. But anyways, I think it's just really obvious where we're going with this story. They've just told us exactly where the season is going to end, and they've told us exactly what the build-up point is going to be. What annoys me beyond that is this idea that who would they pick in the entire school full of talented young men and women? Who do they pick to do a performance in front of the Queen? Oh yeah, they're going to pick Seaman. The guy who's in a on-off relationship with the Crown Prince that really bothers the Queen. So the Queen's going to be in presence. The Queen is going to be present. The Crown Prince is going to give a speech. And Seaman is going to give a solo, his first solo. But not only is he going to give a solo, he's been asked to rewrite the song, the school song more or less, to show that there are new traditions at the school, because it's time to step out and do something new. Do we really not see exactly where this is headed? Come on, would this really happen in real life? Of all the people they could have picked, these are the two people who are going to give performances, more or less, in front of the Queen at the 120-year Jubilee. I just don't think that's good writing. Okay, the fourth thing that I want to complain about, that I really, really did not like, was this whole idea of meeting Marcus. It seems to me in so many of these teen dramas, when we get into season 2, there's always the breakup. Each one goes to try to find somebody else. There's a little bit of jealousy. They ultimately get back together. It's trope. It's very obvious. It's very boring. The moment Marcus walked into the house, I didn't like him. And I'll tell you why. It has nothing to do with him as a character. It has everything to do with the fact that the writers think we're stupid. Or maybe they're just lazy. Because this character walks into Linda's home, says hello to Linda, she says hi back, how are you doing, how's your family, blah, 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 blah. And they lead us to believe that Marcus has always been a character in this drama. We just hadn't met him before. I mean, Linda knows him and Sarah knows him. And that's ridiculous, because how is it that Sarah knows him, Linda knows him, and Seaman doesn't? Because he goes to the back of the house because he conveniently needs to use the restroom, conveniently hears Seaman singing, and conveniently leans against the doorpost to talk to Seaman. And Seaman looks at him like, yeah, I've seen you around, I think, maybe? Don't know who you are? So how is it everybody knows who he is except Seaman? And it's such an obvious introduction of a character that it annoyed the heck out of me. But the writers even took it a little bit further. They needed a device in which Seaman was going to have to depend on Marcus and call Marcus to the rescue and, have an additional meeting. So As you know, Sarah goes to the party. She gets herself in a little bit of trouble. Seaman gets concerned. And he says, okay, I need to go to the party and find out what's going on with my sister. So he calls two of his friends who conveniently are completely unavailable to help him. So the only person that's available to help him is the guy he just met. Come on. It's too obvious. It's too obvious. It's too lazy writing. And I really, really didn't like it. And it made me not like Marcus. Not his fault, I guess. But I didn't like it. And in this worsening weather, that brings me to my final point, the thing that I didn't like, that I just feel like has to be addressed. And I know there are going to be people who are going to accuse me of creating controversy. I swear that's not what I'm trying to do. But I just feel that it's time for me to say something about it. Let's look back when Marcus comes to the door of Seaman's bedroom and he talks about, oh, I heard you singing, I came over, la, 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 la. And then there's that scene where the teacher says, oh, you know, you need to sing this song for us. You're so angelic, your voice. Man, I hate to say this. I don't think Seaman can sing that well. I really cringe when I hear him singing, you know, certain songs in this series. Oh, man. I know he does a great job as an actor, and I hear that he's a great human being, you know, outside of the series. But I hear the same thing about August. August is a really good actor, and he's supposedly a really nice guy outside of the series, but I don't want to listen to him sing either. I've actually gone online and listened to a few of Omar's songs. I'm just not a fan. I'm sorry. And so now you have my review of Season 2, Episode 1. Not my favorite. Had some good points, had some high points, had some low points that I really didn't care for. And if I'm going to keep it honest, I have to share with you when I just don't like something. So there you have it. In the comments, please, if you agree with me, let me know. If you disagree with me, let me know. That's okay. That's what having a conversation is all about. Thankfully, Season 2 gets better than this. This was a bad start, but I don't think that it stays here. Until next time, my friends, which I hope is going to be very, very soon, please be safe, spread the love, and be warmer than I am at the moment. All right, take care of each other. Cheers.